All right, I'm back. So you guys persuaded me to do another one of these. I I thought I was going to be called Re something, but not reboot. So I'm calling this RENEWT. My name is Newt, and I am going to take suggestions on how I would reboot a specific film franchise based on your recommendations. And I sat down because I didn't get any. I had a couple I'm looking at that I'm going to think of something, but I just sat down here and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make one up off the top of my head. So here we go. We're going to make up one for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So the thing about Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the first one is dynamite. It's one of the most perfect horror movies ever made because it is so tactile. It does feel at times like a snuff film. It feels like you're watching a nightmare. And because of the dry heat and the bones and everything, it's something that your brain can smell and feel. And that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant on the part of Tobe Hooper and his team. I like part two because it does go in such a different direction. And I like part three as well. It's got the greatest teaser trailer ever. And Ken Foray is great. I thought that one was good. After that, they pretty much fall apart. I'm not a huge fan of the remake. I'm not a big fan of Marcus Nispel in general. But also just the idea of them going, okay, we're going to go the opposite, and we're going to do that early 2000s. Everything is wet and bluish, and it's, I get it, you got to do something different. So instead of doing it in broad daylight, they did it in nighttime. Instead of the stark reds and yellows and browns and earth tones, they went with a more bluish color palette. That's fine, I get it, just not for me. If I was going to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, how to move the series forward is I would take all of the original films, the reboots of the reboots, the out of continuity stuff, this character, all of that exists, or does it? It would be the kind of thing where this Texas Chainsaw Massacre series itself is the unreliable narrator. I would start the movie off with the old man in the cemetery in the first movie, where he's like, I see things, but nobody listens to me because I'm an old man. It would be that's clip, and then we cut to Sawfest in Newton, Texas, because that's where the original one, the cemetery, was. And it's a town that has embraced the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not the movies or anything like that, but the actual crimes as a cottage industry. It's like, it's like The Thing if you drive past Tucson, or, Hitler's car, or the Bonnie and Clyde death car. George Washington slept here. It's one of those kind of roadside attraction, tourist trappy kind of things. And the movie would revolve around a group of travel vloggers, sort of like Jacob the Carpetbagger, if you've ever seen his show, or like Expedition Theme Park, something like that. People who go to like weird places, festivals, Mothman Festival or whatever. I don't know, places for Halloween or whatever. Weird, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm making this up and I'm trying to make it make sense in my head now. So you have our group and they show up to this thing, and they're at first a little bit taken aback by the idea of the fun and games and revelry around murders and cannibalism. But again, there's no record of the Hewitts or the Sawyers ever being in that area. So is it all urban legend? Is it all ballyhoo? Is it all like, again, the Mothman Festival or Area 51? There's people having chainsaw contests, making chainsaw art, or, hamburgers that are made to look like Leatherface, like they did in Jason Goes to Hell, where they made the Jason ones. So these people are kind of sucked into that, because I used to live down the Jersey Shore. After 9/11, there was a thing where a guy would dress up as Osama bin Laden and you'd shoot him with paintballs for $15, or there was like a water slide for Titanic. Like, it doesn't take much for people to capitalize off of human tragedy. But what they'd be there doing their thing about is there is a group that's popped up on Reddit and in different places, which all go under the banner that the Saw is family. It's almost like a QAnon style group of people who worship Leatherface. So you would have these actual crimes that have happened, but people brush it off as these are lone crazy people or this is weirdos on the internet. But then the movie would take on, it would go from this very like kind of fun going to the place, almost like the beginning of Blair Witch 2, but then it would slowly become Race the Devil, the Warren Oates and Peter Fonda movie where a group of friends are traveling in an RV. They stop, they see a satanic cult making a sacrifice, and now they're on the run from the cult. So I would do it sort of like that, where these people see this cult for real. All these Leatherface people and with the saws and everything, and they are, they're sacrificing someone to the soil of this town where these things could or maybe didn't happen. We don't know. So I just like the idea of the vague concept that all these different continuities, all these different versions of Leatherface and family members and origins can all be used in it. But you're not stuck to one continuity now that you're constantly trying to fix to make that first movie still work. There's no mention of Sally or Franklin or anything like that. So yeah, you have these people that are on the run now in this stretch of long nothingness in Texas, trying to stay alive while being pursued by these cannibalistic psychopaths with chainsaws and human flesh masks, and you can really expand on what Leatherface is and who these people are too, because underneath they wouldn't be Chop Top. They would be a dude who maybe works in IT, but he's wound up into this. And then in the end, you could find out that it's also sort of like the Wicker Man. The town is like a Venus flytrap. It's drawing people in for the sacrifice to keep the legend alive of this Leatherface deity almost. And I think that would be a cool way to do it, where it very much goes back to its roots of waking up in a nightmare that you can't get out of. Like I love in the second one where it says that Sally jumped out a window from hell or something like that. I don't remember the exact line, but that's what it should feel like. It should feel like you're going through this fucked up ride, basically, where you're being faced with some of the most horrifying images ever of the chainsaw and of people wearing human skin masks and eating people and all this shit, and it's all under the guise of this this cult that worships the saw. And it goes back to the idea that the saw is family and how all these people in different places feel connected to each other through this shared urban legend. So yeah, if you took Blair Witch 2, a YouTube vlogger, a travel vlogger, The Wicker Man, and Race the Devil, and you put them all together with the style and vibe of the first movie, where it's very stark, very tactile, like I said, you'd have something very interesting there. So, I don't know. Because again, every Chainsaw movie is basically telling the same story the same way over and over again. Do your thing, cuz. So, yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you thought of that. How would you fix the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series? Are you going to send Leatherface to space? And let me know if you have any other franchises you'd love to hear how I would update them. I promise next time I'll make notes and not just make it up off the top of my head. As I was talking, I'm trying to draw parallels. I'm like, okay, this would be cool if we went here, and then this, and yeah, I don't know. There's something so brutal about the first movie, despite the fact that you don't see any blood or anything like that, because it's just that idea that if you would have just not stopped to pick somebody up or turn left instead of turning right, you would have never had to have experienced hell. And the idea that people who think they're coming out to this kind of quirky roadside attraction a la House of a Thousand Corpses or, again, Tourist Trap, and then are literally dropped into a waking nightmare. And, Leatherface is such a cool idea because that face and this hulking creature but now it could be like, a little skinny girl, or like, an old person. There's a chance to have all these weird imagery, and you never know who you can trust in this area, because anybody could be involved in this once things start coming into play. And and different sizes and types of chainsaws and masks, and Texas is scary anyway. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of those movies where the title, every word is more terrifying than the word before it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You're like, fuck, that's the greatest title ever, but that's terrifying. So that's it. That's this RENEWT. And let me know, like I said, what would you do with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Or, should we just leave the Texas Chainsaw Massacre alone and just create new stories? They can't do that. It's Hollywood. Or what other one should I talk about? What would you want to hear me RENEWT? These suck.